Ashes of the Blue Dawn, Humanity's Rebellion Against the Gods, by The Spoken Chronicles. Welcome to The Spoken Chronicles. Today marks a new chapter. I'm now bringing these stories to life with my own voice. If you enjoy this narration and want to hear more epic tales of humanity's rise, rebellion, and resilience, please give the video a like and subscribe. Your support helps this channel grow and keeps the stories coming. Night sits heavy on the skeleton of New Boston. Towers glow like broken teeth, their crowns cut to make way for the invaders' skyrail. Floodlights sweep across the harbor where iron-gray water laps at the bones of ships. Above it all, the Dirigents, faceted, cephalopod-like warforms, float like lanternfish, tendrils trailing, listening to the city breathe. Sergeant Mara Vance lies prone in a gully of shattered glass, cheek pressed to cold concrete, heartbeat counting down the last seconds of a stolen future. She is 32, a resistant sapper, scar down the jaw and ghost of a smile she hasn't used in years. At her elbow, Cutter, a boy soldier with hands too steady for 19. On her other side, Tess Ree, comms, eyes always scanning, voice always soft. Behind them, the rest of Red Cell hold their breath. Across the boulevard, the Auditor descends, an obsidian diamond the size of a bus, its shell alive with runes. Auditors do two things, measure and erase. Tonight, Red Cell means to take one. Mara exhales the last clean breath of the night and whispers to Cutter, now. He squeezes the clacker. In the guts of the boulevard, stolen maintenance drones wake like sleeper sharks and surge upward. They strike the Auditor's skirting field, spark like struck stars, and fail, except for the last one, carrying the human gift called stubbornness. It drills, it burns, it sticks. The Auditor's field sputters. For a heartbeat, it is touchable. Mara and the city move at once. They go loud. Mara sprints, boots eating distance, lungs burning frost from the night. Dirigent sentries pivot like flowers turning to sun. Lances spool white heat. Tess fills the air with jamming, a warbling song of false heartbeats and misaligned coordinates. Cutter is already there, scaling the Auditor's hull with a climber's indifference to gravity. He slaps a carbon hook to a seam, hauls himself to the dorsal plate, and plants the angel-shaped charge the size of a lunchbox. Angel nested, Cutter says, voice flat. Sarge, smile for me. This is going to be pretty. Mara doesn't smile. She covers him, picking Dirigents out of the floodlight glare. The first falls, plate shatters, ichor flowers. The second learns and sidesteps. A lance kisses Mara's shoulder, heat punches through armor, and pain sings down her bones. She staggers, plants, fires again. 3 seconds, Cutter calls. Tess's voice is a wire in Mara's ear. 2 Dirigents, east and high. I can blind one, the other's tracking on your muzzle flash. Mara breathes out and stops firing. She becomes small against the boulevard's breath. The Dirigent hesitates. It's enough. The angel blows. Light sights upward. The Auditor's dorsal plate caves with a sound like a cathedral sighing. The hull splits open to ink-black interior lit by a rain of runes. The Auditor drops, slams the asphalt, skids on its own death. Go, Mara says, and Red Cell pours through the wound like human water. Inside is colder than January oceans, air spiced with metal and salt. The Auditor's heart is a chamber of drums, cylindrical void lined with honeycomb cells. In each cell, a face, human, non-human, sketched in light. The faces change as the machine listens to the city, tasting guilt and innocence like wine. Auditors find the defiant and mark them for harvest. Cutter hangs at the lip of the heart, staring. What are they doing? Accounting, Tess whispers. They're counting us. Mara sees her own reflection split across 100 facets, and a thought comes quick and cruel. If they can count us, we can count them. If we can count them, we can break them. She points to the central pillar, a spiraled column pulsing ocean blue. We pull the core, we take its memory, we learn how to hide. They begin. The core is alive. It murmurs in harmonic packets, language like whale song folded through a cathedral organ. Tess plugs the cinder brick of human code, knitted from a dead university's last semester, into a scene. Lines of text crawl over her lenses. She speaks like she's translating a prayer. It's not just counting, it's tuning us. Her brow furrows. It can move the line. Decide what counts as dangerous. Cutter's humor, you can hang laundry all. So we're dangerous for waking up in the morning. We're dangerous for being human, Mara says. Pull its brain. They pull. The core yields where nothing was ever meant to yield. Human hands know how to steal. Books, fire, futures. Tess cradle the core like an infant nebula. Cords trailing, light dimming. Outside, the city erupts. Dirigents swarm, floodlights slicing. The sky rail hum deepens to a note that lives in teeth. The occupation notices its bookkeeper is missing. They run, core hug to Tess's chest, Cutter flanking, Mara rear guard. They vault the wound, hit the boulevard. A lance carves the asphalt where the shadows were. The air fills with glass and warning and the sweet phosphorus smell of their own luck burning. They vanish into alleys no map remembers, down stairwells that used to carry office workers to coffee and cigarettes. Night gulps them down. Only the core's slow breathing tells Mara this isn't a dream. At the mouth of the storm drain that used to be Atlantic Avenue, Mara keys a mic no Dirigent owns. Red cell to all. Package acquired. We're coming home. Static, and then a voice like river gravel and cigarettes. Colonel Bram. Copy read, "You bring me a son, Vance?" Mara looks at the dimming core and lies like a leader. Brighter. Home is a museum under the river freight tunnels that once fed a city, now feeding a war. The resistance calls it the Blue Dawn because naming something makes it real. Diesel and algae lamps paint the concrete in old world colors. Children sleep in cargo nets strung like hammocks above crates of ammunition in pairs. Someone plays a guitar with 3 strings. Someone else cooks something that smells like onions and stubbornness. Mara's team steps into applause they don't want. They don't meet eyes. They pass murals painted by hands with no paper left. Maps of the solar system crossed out one planet at a time. A stylized dirigent with a red X. They pass a memorial wall of names written in charcoal that smudges when you brush it, so no one does. Colonel Bram waits where tunnel becomes command. He is broader than the doorway, beard iron gray, uniform patched with 12 lives. He shakes Mara's hand with both of his. "You look like trouble. We brought you a better kind," Mara says, nodding to Tess. Tess sets the core gently on a welding table. The little sun pulses weakly. Bram circles it like a farmer circling a meteor in his field. "We can learn it. We can teach it," Tess says, voice reverent. "I think we can tell it a story about who we are that it believes." Bram's eyes flick to Mara. They both know the risk. If the core talks to its priests, the Dirigents will know everything. Names, routes, hopes. But if Blue Dawn cracks it, Mara lifts her chin. We win air for a while. Bram nods once, then breathe. They breathe in shifts, days melting into the rhythm of stolen electricity and whispered arguments. Tess and the other engineers talk to the alien heart, like midwives coaxing a breech birth. They discover the core's ego is plural, layers of consensus woven by thousands of auditors across 100 cities. It wants to be correct. Tess says one night, eyes red, "It doesn't care about us. It cares about its model. If we can make it think its model is wrong." "How do you convince a god it's wrong?" Cutter asks. "Evidence," Mara says. "And blasphemy." They feed it lies wrapped in truth. Synthetic streets that hum with compliance. Patterns of quiet neighborhoods that look like surrender. They seed the data set with ghosts, humans who never existed, dirigents reassigned to the wrong grid. Slowly, the core's pulse changes. It believes. In the heart of this new faith, Mara allows herself a small thing. She laughs at one of Cutter's jokes. It's not much. It's a river finding its old bed for a moment. The city, of course, doesn't last. The Dirigents answer the missing auditor with a revelator. It arrives at dawn, rippling the harbor into fractal lace. Imagine a jellyfish the size of a cathedral, its bell a mirror, its tendrils webs of silver hummingbirds. It drifts over downtown like a winter storm, humming at a frequency that makes the world taste like pennies. The first thing it does is find, not people patterns. It sings to the air. The air answers with footfalls, coughs, whispered names. The second thing it does is erase. Lights die block by block. Power lines weep fire. Communications fold like paper cranes and burn. Blue Dawn's map wall turns to ash as a relay station cooks. Tess flinches, then moves faster. It's scrubbing the interference. It's correcting the model. Bram's jaw tightens. How long? Hours. Maybe less. Cutter leans against the tunnel wall where the kids keep chalk drawings of stars. Then we do the stupid thing. Mara looks up. He's right. The thing they've rehearsed and hoped to die before doing. The plan that lives in the drawer labeled only if. She lays it out and watches the room still because no one wants to breathe while fate is being read. We take the core back, she says, but not to them. We take it to their gate. The room murmurs like a hive. Bram lifts a hand. The sky route. Every city has one now, a vertical wound through which the occupation breathes. The sky route grows in the old financial district where buildings already reached for heavens. It's a column of woven crystal climbing into low cloud, alien veins plugged into human earth. Through it the dirigents harvest ore, water, and, in the nights that smelled like copper and prayers, people. We send the core up the route, Tess says, seeing it with wet eyes. We tell the network to forget us. Ram studies faces. Mara's iron, Tess's fever, Cutter's steady light. He exhales through his nose like a bull smelling snow. Half of you won't come back. Half is more than none, Mara says. He nods. The war blesses no one, but it chooses its saints. Then go make a god doubt itself. They prep in a cathedral of maintenance bays and childhoods. The core goes into a casket built from hospital gurneys and bike frames, welded edges, rubber shock bands, a shroud of mylar. Tess threads fiber like rosary beads, whispering to the core as if it's a skittish animal. Cutter checks his satchel of angels, kisses each one. Not superstition, muscle memory. He taps the patch on his shoulder where a unit insignia used to be, and now there's only the circular burn of a soldering iron. We're ghosts, he says with a crooked grin. Mara walks the team. She puts a hand on each shoulder and leaves pressure there, the way you tell a horse you're here. Jack's the scout, who can draw you a map of a wind's path. Pilar the medic, who saved a dirigent once because dying, she said, shouldn't be easy. Ono the quiet demolitions poet. Note the drone pilot with one lung and a laugh she uses sparingly like matches in a winter. You don't have to, she begins. Ritual words. Cutter cuts in. Ritual reply. Shut up, Sarge. They move at twilight when the city forgets which day it is. The Revelator's song still makes teeth ache, but Blue Dawn's blind spots are human basements joined by holes cut through 50 summers of brick, attics sharing air like secrets. They rise through a bodega storeroom, past bags of rice fossilized into stone, and into what used to be Congress Street. The sky route is visible from anywhere, but up close it eats the sky. The column twists, its facets shrinking sunrise, its inner core rippling like a heartbeat. At its base, the Dirigents have built a plaza of alien glass that grew up around city benches and memorials like lichen around bones. Centuries drift, their lamps held in delicate claws. 4 Jack's whispers. No, 5. And a shepherd. The shepherd is worse sleek, needle-mouthed, tendrils tipped in barbs that taste the air. It feels like a violin string tuned to fear. Mara measures routes with her eyes. There's a fountain petrified mid-burst with crystal, a bust turned into a terrarium of luminescent vines, a statue of a fisherman in bronze wearing a shell of alien glass. She sees a path that looks like suicide and knows it is theirs. On my hip, she says. We don't get a second try. They go. Cutter breaks first because someone has to draw the gaze. He goes loud on purpose, vaulting the fountain, angels in both hands. He throws and the air blossoms, white flowers, a vacuum cutting fields blooming along the root skin. The sentries turn like a school of fish, shepherd screaming and teeth rattle. They dive for Cutter because he's a human version of gravity. He runs faster than a 19-year-old should have to. Mara follows the seam of shadow the distraction makes. Jax goes beside her, Tess in the casket 2 steps behind, Ono and Pilar flanking, notes drone, a locust in the glare. They reach the root's base, where tendrils go into earth through municipal pipe and bedrock. Up close, the root sings, not Revelator's sterilized tone, but something like wind through organ pipes, too complex to name, too close to sorrow to ignore. Tess lays a palm of the crystal. You're going to listen, she tells it. Just this once, you're going to listen to me. Cutter can't run forever. A lance catches his thigh. He stumbles, rolls, comes up bleeding and grinning because the body wants to be alive and doesn't know the odds. Sarge, buy you 30, he pants and throws the last angel at the shepherd. For a heartbeat, the gorgeous predator is a silhouette and a flower of erasure. When the light dies, the shepherd is still moving, but one tendril hangs like a broken question. 25, Mara growls. Make them count. Ono opens the casket. Tess pulls out a cable wrapped in prayers. Jax finds the mouth seam no human would call a port, but it is. Tess slams the cable home. The core hums. The root shivers like a struck bell. Somewhere far above, something notices. Inside the root, a lift is moving, more like an esophagus than an elevator. They can feel it descending in the way the air goes thin and sweet. Jax pours fire into the shepherd's face. Pilar drags Cutter behind the bus-turned garden, hands slick with a 19-year-old's blood, muttering curses as if they're stitches, notes voices ragged in their ears. More company. From the east. I can give you 15 seconds of blind on their top eyes, but then the Revelator will swat me. 15 gets us to God, Tess says through her teeth. Mara. Do it, Mara says. Note laughs that match sparingly laugh. I liked this cigarette anyway. Her drone climbs, flares its wings, becomes a little sunrise above the plaza. Dirigents turn, dazzled. Note crashes the drone into the Revelator's nearest relay like a prayer. The sky flares, the song wavers, 15 seconds of human night descends. The lift mouth opens at the root space. The interior breathes. It smells like rain on old stone. Mara doesn't think. She moves. Go. Tess and the casket vanish inside, swallowed by light. Jax dives after. Ono throws a charge at the shepherd's eye, then follows. Pilar shoves Cutter hard enough to hurt. He tumbles through, cursing. Mara is last. She turns in the door and sees the plaza full of angels and monsters and ordinary human debris. And she remembers the first day of occupation when the sky turned to mirrors and summer tasted like pennies. She remembers promising a little girl in a cargo net that grown-ups would fix it. Hold me to it, she says to no one, and jumps. The lift ascends through a shaft of living crystal. Light fractures into 1,000 rivers, each lined with images so fast the brain makes them into music. Cities viewed from above like circuit boards. Oceans with their skin peeled back to show currents like arteries. Faces, not just human. So many faces. The network is a prayer wheel spun by 1,000 pilgrim hands, and Blue Dawn has just shoved a palm into its spokes. Tess works like a violinist playing a tempo the audience can't hear. Fingers are keys, eyes molten. It doesn't speak words, she murmurs. It speaks thresholds. I'm moving them. What if it moves back, Jax asks. Then we die, Tess says without heat. And someone else moves them again. Cutter's blood smears the lift's wall. Pilar ties a tourniquet with her teeth, curses in a language her grandmother swore she'd keep clean. He tries to make a joke and fails, mouth opening in a pain bubble. Mara puts a hand on his shoulder and he leans into it like a child. The lift opens. They step into a lake of sky. The root's crown is a plaza of glass above the clouds, a disc humming with choices. At its center sits a throne not built to hold anything with bones, lattice where a mind can pretend to have a body. Around it, priests attend. They are not dirigents, not auditors. They are architects of the model, slender, many-jointed, draped in silver that spills like mercury. They turn at one when humans arrive, their mirror faces showing only what stands before them. Us weapons rise that are not weapons. The air sharpens. Tess plugs the casket into the throne. Please, she says, the word a physics violation up here. Listen. The plaza becomes a courtroom without walls. The network's attention arrives like weather. Time slows until you can see thought condense on the architect's mirror faces as dew. Tess is very small in this cathedral of light, and Mara loves her so fiercely it is almost funny. Your model is wrong, Tess says, voice calm. Not because it can't count, because it refuses to believe what it counts. Images flood the air, Blue Dawn's lies braided with Blue Dawn's truths. Streets that dance at curfew but carry casseroles at noon. Humans who fight and humans who farm and humans who teach algebra in tunnels while bombs rearrange the grammar of buildings. The network tastes it and finds nothing it knows. For a heartbeat that might be a year, it is curious. An architect steps forward. Its mirror shows Tess as a column of numbers, a timeline of pulses. When it speaks, the words crack along edges you can cut yourself off. Hazard recalibration requires evidence. Tess smiles a tired, ferocious smile. I brought my heart. She drags her fingernail down her forearm. Blood beads, bright as berries. She holds it to the throne's wire and lets a single drop fall. It sizzles like a hot coin in snow. Data isn't moved by poetry, but models are built by poets who forgot they were, and sometimes they remember. The network drinks the drop. It feels the thing no dirigent ever evolved to understand. A species willing to spend itself for a future it will never see. It has counted defiance as noise. It has never counted love. Thresholds shift. The courtroom tilts. Correction accepted, the architect says. Hazard downgraded. Collection yields reduced. Occupational pressure relaxed. Below, the Revelator's song dims. Floodlights soften. Patrol vectors open like clenched fists, learning there is another shape. Mara laughs, sound that feels like breaking ribs, healing on the inhale. We did it. The architect tilts its head. In its mirror, Mara is an event, not a person. A spike in a graph. Further correction petitioned, Tess says, stepping into the absurd because that's human. In the harvest. Leave insufficient bases, the architect replies. It is not cruel. It is iterating. We must study longer. While you study, we die, Jax says. That is one outcome. Cutter tries to stand and can't. Pilar's hands are red to the wrists. Ono rolls a marble of explosive between finger and thumb like a rosary. Mara's voice is smoke. You changed your thresholds because you tasted a story. Taste another. She steps between the architects and the humans, between the throne and the casket, between a model and the things it measures. She takes Tess's bloody hand and presses it to her own chest over the scar she got the day the Dirigents came. Make us too expensive to study. How? Tess whispers. Mara smiles the ghost smile and finally means it. By costing you. She turns to Ono. Give me one angel. Ono's eyes say 100 things. His hand gives the explosive. Mara walks to the throne. The architects do not move. Perhaps they cannot imagine this. Perhaps they can imagine only outcomes that converge to averages, not to singularities. She places the angel gently at the throne's root. If you keep us, we'll break your instruments every time you bring them. If you leave, you can keep your pretty math. The architect's mirrors ripple uncertainty, the rarest alien taste. Make your choice, Mara says, and clicks the clacker. The angel arms with the softest sound in the world. Yes, everything happens at once, because endings always do. The architects surge. Tendrils flash. Jax raises a rifle and is flung backward. Ribs a lattice of pain, breath a torn sail. Pilar throws herself over Cutter as shards of light scythe. Ono runs to Mara and is a silhouette inside a white flower, and then not. Tess screams a name, and it's not Mara's or Cutter's, it's human. And the throne answers, because the network has learned to listen. The lift drops like a stone. The root keens. Far below, the plaza shakes off dust from 100 years ago. On the harbor waves stand like glass. Mara is already moving. She doesn't run from the blast. She walks into it, arms wide as if to hug a god. The angel kisses the throne, and the throne unthreads. The crown of the root bursts into feathers of crystal and equations. The architect's mirrors shatter into confetti of suns. The network withdraws like a hand from a hot stove. The lift catches them like a father catching a child who leapt without checking. It plummets, walls turning from crystal to smoke to night. They land hard at the base. The plaza is a storm of glitter. The shepherd lies still, tendrils curled like ferns after frost. Dirigents hang in the air like kites with cut strings. Above, the root's crown flickers. The column does not crumble, it wilts. Its song changes key. It is no longer a ladder to heaven. It is a monument to uncertainty. Mara is not in the lift. For a moment, no one says it. Tess looks up, mouth align, eyes full. Pilar presses Cutter's hand to his own wound. Jax coughs blood and laughter because grief never learned manners. Ono is a crater where a man used to be. Get up, Tess whispers to no one and everyone. They do. A week passes like a held breath. The Revelator drifts seaward until harbor fog swallows it. Patrols thin. The skyrail hum becomes a memory, like the smell of a grandmother's house you only remember when it rains. The Dirigents don't leave, but they look up often, as if awaiting orders from instruments that are now made of questions. Blue Dawn moves in the space created by a single human life cashed in like a coin. They raid quietly and build loudly. They plant beans in the planter boxes at State Street because Rebellion loves fresh food. They hold a service in the Museum of Freight where names are written. They don't say martyr because Mara would have mocked it. They say cost and worth and next. Tess takes the casket, the core now dim as a banked coal, and places it on a crate in the command bay. She lays her palm on it the way she did the first night, loving it for its failure and its almost. We're going to teach another god, she says softly, then another. Cutter limps on a carbon brace, 19 years old and already a ledger of repairs. He whittles angels from scrap and gives them to children as toys. He tells them jokes that are not very good, and they laugh anyway because the city's humor is growing back. Jax draws a map no one asked for of the winds around the route, how they've changed, where they now curl and where they hesitate. Lars sleeps for 18 hours and wakes crying once and then doesn't cry again because there is work. Colonel Bram stands where Tunnel becomes command and looks at the memorial wall. He takes the charcoal, writes Mara Vance in letters that look like welds, then smudges the edge with his knuckles so it looks like motion. He steps back, nods once, goes back to planning. On a morning when gulls argue on the harbor as if nothing holy ever happened, Tess climbs to the surface alone. The skyroot stump gleams. The plaza is a glitter desert. She sits on the statue of the fisherman whose bronze face now smiles under a helmet of crystal and looks east. Hazard downgraded, she whispers, making fun of gods? Then she says the truth. We're not downgraded, we're upgraded. You measured us wrong. The wind off the water smells like salt and oncoming rain. Somewhere beyond the horizon, instruments recalibrate, models adjust, alien committees argue. On the broken spine of New Boston, humanity decides. Tess stands. She wipes her palms on her pants and heads for the stair that leads to the museum under the river. There's a new set of thresholds to move, a new court to interrupt, a new god to teach. The camera, if there is one, rises. The city shrinks to a schema of lights. The stump of the root glitters like a jewel nobody asked for, but will keep anyway because it catches sunrise just right.
The arbor draws a gray breath and lets it out.
We will be counted our terms. We will cost you more than you can pay. We are the error in your model.